Welcome, everybody, to episode number 8 of Long Toss here on the Walkoff. A couple familiar faces today. We got a new face as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, let's just run down the list of talking points for tonight. So, of course, we got Matt Chapman in Toronto news, Jose Ramirez trade speculation, and we're going to get into the real impact of a lefty bat. I know it's something that I just can't get over. We're going to talk about Blue Jays expectations for 2022. Donaldson to the Yankees and whether or not we have to hate him now. Correa to the Twins. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Trevor Story to the Red Sox. That's big news. And then we're going to go over free agency in review. Surprise signings and winners and losers from across the league. After that, we're going to touch on Fernando Tatis Jr. there in San Diego. I think it was a motorcycle injury, and how concerned should those Padres be with their investment there? And then towards the end, we do have a Yankees cheating scandal that we're going to get to, and Joel's going to take the lead on that. And then we have an official return of the World Baseball Classic in the spring of 2023. So lots to get to here. I'll throw it around the horn, but before we do, I'll just thank everybody who's supported us on Patreon. We've got Joel, Jeremy, the Mustard Tiger, SCTI, SPC, and Yushi. So thank you for your support on Patreon. Reminder, we are doing our movie review once a month for all of our Patreons. So this month we are reviewing A League of Their Own, a classic. So remember to get your Recast the Remake submission into the Discord ASAP, as Scott and I will be likely recording that episode later this week. Our Discord is open. There's a link, a free invite there in the show notes of this video, whether you're watching live or after the fact on YouTube. And we are running a fantasy baseball league through our Discord this year. So the cutoff for that is March 26th is the entry deadline for that. So you just shoot myself, Scott, or Mark a message in the Discord, and then we'll get you into the draw for a spot there. So let's introduce everybody now. Enough of that. Joel, you might know him from Hey Commie on TikTok. How you doing, Joel?
Not bad. Adam, how are you?
Good. Thanks for sitting down with us on a Monday. I know you had to shift some things around to make this work, but we're glad you're here.
No worries at all. Happy to be here. Love it. 8 episodes. Finally have baseball to talk about.
I know, we did it. We're here. I like the new hat. Is that a new hat?
No, it's not. It's just my hair's looking grubby, so
that's
there's a hat
clean
on the head.
I don't think I have any hats that are that clean looking. So,
well, you got to keep the white panel hat clean, right? You don't wear that one outside.
Yeah, that's the trick, eh?
Oh, that's the trick. Okay.
Craig, how about yourself? How you doing, man? Nice to see you.
Real well. Always a pleasure to be on. Commie, you can grab your glasses. We have, I don't blame you for not wanting to look at the usual crew, but we've got Lewis. He's a good-looking young man, and we've got Baseball Jen. We've got good things to look at today, Joel. You can go ahead and throw your glasses on. It's different this week.
I noticed I didn't get a mention there, Craig.
You're always looking like $1 million. You are always looking like $1 million. Goodness.
All right. Craig mentioned Lewis there. We got Lewis Foster, the crown prince of Blue Jays Twitter, just freshly back from his time in Florida. How you doing, Lewis?
Hey, I'm doing great. Glad to be on. Talk some baseball.
Yeah, lots to talk about. And a new face, Jen Smith. Welcome to the show. How you doing, Jen? Thanks for sitting down with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And last but not least, my main attraction here, Mr. Scott Belford. How you doing, Scott?
I like how you switched it up. Normally you introduce me first, but feels interesting to go last. Hey, gang.
There you go. You're the headliner tonight. You're closing out the
show.
Right.
There we go. Closing the show.
All right. So let's start with Matt Chapman. That's the big news that's on the tip of every Blue Jays fan's lips right now. So universally, we're all happy with this trade, correct? No one's disappointed in the Matt Chapman news. I see a lot of
aside from losing some friends of the show.
Yes, it was sad to see Zach Logue and Kirby Snead get shipped out to Oakland, but on to greener pastures. And It is the life side of baseball. Hey, seeing your friends go. I know Kirby Sneed is really good friends with Taylor Sacedo, another friend of the show, and I was talking with Taylor. He's pretty upset to see Kirby get traded there.
Yeah.
But, that's life. That's the business side of things, right? So let's start with Matt Chapman. Scott, you had an interesting note that you just texted me. I think it was a tweet that Lewis sent you. So we're just going right around the horn here. So let's talk Matt Chapman as a defensive stud.
And you know what? I'm even going to throw to Lewis here. However, I did love your tweet there, Lewis, of the guy carrying the horse and then all the defensive metrics of the infielders within the AL East. So if you want to kind of touch on that and just what a stud Matt Chapman actually is at his position.
Yeah, Matt Chapman is easily the best defensive third baseman in baseball, but I think we overlook how he improves the whole field's defense because Bo is weaker to his right side, and now he has Matt Chapman there. And now you have Biggio and Espinal playing a more comfortable position at second. So we're going to see a jump in Bo Bichette's defensive ability, and with Chapman there, I really think the infield's going to really set a new bar defensively that we really haven't seen in ages. So
that's such a good point. And one thing that I brought up on Friday's cast was just the one pitcher in this rotation that I actually get excited about seeing Matt Chapman at the hot corner for is Hyun-Jin Ryu, because this is a guy who induces the most ground balls out of any starter on this Blue Jays lineup. He's a guy who induces ground balls to the left-hand side of the infield, and to have a vacuum there like Matt Chapman is going to do nothing but improve him too, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is staff-wide, guys. Let's acknowledge the Toronto Blue Jays last season gave up the more ground balls to third base than any team in baseball. This is a pitching staff-wide improvement. And just to pick up on what Lewis is talking about there, what's our issue with Bo Bichette? Bo making the throws to first. When he's got to go to his left, when he's got to go to his right, making the throws to first, man, I'm right there with you, Bo. I'm loving it. Him charging that ball, those fundamentals get very wonky. When Bo has to charge a ball, you can just see Vlad's wheels turning, going, oh boy, I'm gonna have to make a play here. Okay, get loose, get limber. Here we go. Slim Daddy Vladdy's gonna have to make a play. Matt Chapman is as good as there is in base. He plays a very deep third base because the way he charges balls is exceptional. It's not just his great arm, it's his fundamentals. Matt Chapman will be working with Bo on that. We saw the infield coach on day one of Matt Chapman walking in the door. At 5 a.m., by the way, day one of Matt Chapman walking in the door, the infield coach said, Hazel was interviewing him. The infield coach said, Matt Chapman already seeked me out to let me know, hey, if any of these young guys, if you need me for work with any of these young guys, I'm here. This guy walked in the door bleeding new blue.
It must be so crazy as a guy who came from Oakland, an organization that time and time again shows that they're not prepared to spend the money to win, to come to an organization where it is so obvious that they're in the time where they're pushing their chips in, right? Like, it is time to win in Toronto, and it would be very cool as a guy who just watched all of your good friends or any high-end player leave within the last couple years, and then all of a sudden it's your turn to leave and you wind up with a team that's obviously trying to win. So good for him too.
Well, and that's the reason why he didn't sign the extension with the Athletics, right? Was because he took a look around and said, this team isn't committed to winning. They won't build a new stadium, and we're going through this same cycle over and over again. And so he didn't take the extension. And, I read an article saying that he really questioned whether or not that was the right decision, especially when he had his injuries. And, lo and behold, here he gets traded to a team that on paper, could win the AL East. And what a turnaround. And as you all said, he just makes the team that much better. It's not just him at third. It's what he's going to do for everybody else on the field.
That's such a great point about the contract extension too. Like, he turned down some pretty big money in 2019, kind of betting on himself and betting on the fact that the A's are not going to build a team around him. So
the A's are such an interesting organization. Like, from a business and money spending standpoint, they are just an absolute disaster. But in terms of like what the coaching staff and support staff is doing there's something special going on, because are we ever seeing some just absolute professional, and I mean that with all the weight of the word, professional baseball players coming out of Oakland? I mean,
yeah.
You talk about the work ethic of Matt Chapman coming in. We saw the exact same thing with Marcus Semien there last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
I
the
was
Braves,
gonna.
the Braves were so confident in Olsen that they moved on from Freddie Freeman. I think before Freddie Freeman was ready to move on, right? So definitely something special going on there in Oakland. Just too bad they're not willing to spend a dime. Joel, go ahead.
And Anthopoulos and the Jays both love to take as much as they can out of Oakland. And
Yeah.
when Oakland infielders come to Toronto, they ascend to another level. They become, Josh Donaldson went from a guy who would hit 29 home runs to a guy who would hit 43 home runs and win an MVP. And Simeon breaks the record for home runs by a second baseman. But what I'm also really interested in is not just Matt Chapman this year, but Matt Chapman next year when they take the shift away. And you're not being played by a computer, and you've got to go play your position much more natural. And he is the most natural third baseman. So do those defensive numbers get even better when you're not being, positioned out there by a computer and for maximum, defensive, output, right?
I think taking into account that Oakland Coliseum is a big deal as well. I mean, it's such a cavernous, huge, pitcher-friendly park, which is great news for guys like Zach Logue and Kirby Snead, who actually absolutely can go out there and carve a career out for themselves there. I mean, we've watched it happen before with pitchers who have gone to Oakland and do that. But on the other side of things, I mean, Matt Chapman is going from, let's face it, the AL West is a division that is filled with pitcher-friendly parks that aren't exactly lighting up numbers for the hitters out that way. And on top of that, so there's the 81 games he would play in Oakland, but then there's about 40 within the division, which will now be played in the AL East. I mean, even just using a tape measure, you're going to hit more bombs in the AL East, right? Like,
what was his OPS split like road and away last year? It was like, wasn't it like 650 at home? 780 on the road,
like eye popping. You're nailing it there, Joel. Like right. Eye popping difference.
It's eye popping difference, and none of those Oakland games are there anymore. You're always on the road now. It's just that road OPS because you're never playing there. So it's
well, his Chapman's OPS career at Rogers Center is 931. I mean, that's gonna play. And where I really remember, we all woke up to the Chapman news. Remember, sort of broke overnight.
Yeah.
So that night before, I saw Trevor Plouffe talking about that. The night before that, he had dinner with Matt Chapman, and Chapman told him, Plouffe, for the first time in 2 years, I'm feeling healthy. That hip was an SOB. It was a major problem. For the first time in a year and a half, 2 years, I feel like $1 million. And then mere hours later, he was a Blue Jay. This is Adam opened the convo. Hey, we're happy, right? My God, this is we can wax poetically offensively. We can wax poetically defensively. We've got a leader in the clubhouse. We always talk about the culture the Blue Jays are building. This guy adds to it. I mean, this was 2 thumbs way up.
And it makes so much sense. Like, one thing that Lewis brought up on Twitter, and I'll let you take over here, bud, but I mean, when Freddie Freeman was on the Blue Jays radar and all those rumors were coming out, Lewis, I think you were like the lone man on Blue Jays Twitter who was like, this makes no sense. Bring me Matt Chapman. And they did. So you can go ahead and touch on that, bud.
Yeah, Matt Chapman, I think with how his hip is healed and that home run we saw yesterday or the day before, 111 off the bat, harder than any hit he had last year, which is just bonkers. I really think he's going to be set up for a 5-WAR season, and we're going to give up 3 decent major leaguers with a prospect that wasn't really going to affect our roster for another 2 years. I really think I think this is a steal almost. I really do.
One thing I did want to bring up about Gunnar Hoagland is what a huge jump in the prospect rankings and amongst the coaches in the Blue Jays system that Irv Carter has made in the last few months. And I really think that his progression is what gave this organization the confidence to be like, you know what, we can move on from Gunnar Hoagland. He's a guy who's still overcoming Tommy John surgery anyways and in recovery. Maybe by the time Irv Carter is ready, Gunnar Hoagland and him would be ready at the same time, right? So it was a time thing anyways with Hoagland.
One of those high upside guys that's still a couple of years away.
Ricky Tideman.
That's a great name too there, Lewis.
Ricky Tideman. He's another one of those guys that made that jump, and I imagine the Jays think he can be a guy who can be better than Hoagland.
And guys, Pearson's on the big league level now, dying to get a spot in the rotation and can't. This rotation's locked up and spoken for. So some of these younger arms are expendable. And if you've got a young arm and you're on line 2 for the Oakland A's, they are taking that call. They are taking that call.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you watched Pearson pitch today, but those mechanics, so clean. It was beautiful.
He's looking at home plate.
He's not looking at. Thank you, Louis.
He's not like turning his head away.
Well, maybe the work with Anthony Telford there in the offseason did some good. Before we move on from Chapman's health injury history, I just wanted to kind of touch on this in the news recently. Was Kevin Biggio kind of revealed that he's recovering from a sprained elbow over the offseason. What's everyone's panic level on this news? Because this really felt like a make or break year in my books for Kevin Biggio. We needed him healthy, and we needed him at second base to see what he could really do. I'm not too panicked, but this isn't. I'm sure this isn't how he wanted to start his 2022 campaign. So he's our best hope at a left-handed bat right now in this batting order. So where's everyone's panic level on this Kevin Biggio isn't quite healthy news? Jen?
I'm not panicking because I don't think he's going to be their everyday second baseman for the entire season. And I don't think he can be, and I don't think he should be. I think they need to upgrade that position. When I was co-hosting the Locked On Blue Jays podcast, we had on Keith Law, and I asked Keith Law directly, do you think Kevin Biggio is an everyday player? And he said, no, not on this team. Not if they're trying to contend. And I happen to agree with that. And that is no disrespect to Kevin Biggio. And I would love for him to prove me wrong. But I genuinely believe that if they are truly going for it this season, they need to upgrade that position.
So is he an everyday second baseman on, let's say, a rebuilding Cleveland team?
Probably. Yeah, I'm another one of those fans that's a bit worried about Biggio. You know, he's not hitting the ball hard enough. Injury problems defensively, he's okay. He can move around, but at the end of the day, I really think he just ends up being a really nice bench piece on this team. Yep. And if that's what he is, that's amazing because this team's already stacked enough. So,
Santiago Espinal's muscles make me panic a little bit less as well. So. I think that's going to be a nice positional move for Espinal, third to second. I think he obviously handles third so well. I think moving to second base will be a rather easy move for him. So, and the issue kind of was, I think about 3 weeks we were talking about, give Espinal a shot. Look at him coming into camp so buff and everything. And then Chapman comes in, you're like, oh, Espinal's not going to get that shot. But now this injury kind of gives Espinal an opportunity to come out of the blocks hot to start the year. And like Jen said, I think second base, you come down to it and you're competing come the trade deadline. Second base is probably the position that you would want to upgrade, maybe both, depending on injuries. I'm not going to go there yet, but second base, with what you see right now, seems like the position that you could make a move to try to, compete with a lineup like the Dodgers if you want that World Series win. But I don't think panic is the word right now.
Do you all think that second base will be upgraded? And if second base is upgraded, do you think this is something that happens at the trade deadline? Do you think the Jays are kind of finished right now with where they're at?
I think second base might be a position that's upgraded internally. Like we could see a guy like Jordan Groshadz come up at some point. We won't see a Relvis this year, but I think there's a chance Groshadz could get an opportunity.
Well, I'm grossed out at the thought of moving Groshadz over to second. He is my third baseman of the future, and I don't want to mess with that. But I mean, that might be an ambitious move, putting him over to third. But I don't know. Can we just talk Jordan Groshadz for a second then? How's everyone feeling on Groshadz as a prospect? Because for me, that was kind of part of why the Chapman signing made sense. Was it felt like Groshadz is going to get a year of development in AAA, no pressure on him, just play third base every day, figure out third base, and then next year we can just kind of bring him up part-time. He can transition. He can learn from Chapman the way to be a professional third baseman, and then we can say goodbye to Chapman and say thank you for the 2 World Series rings. good luck in New York or wherever he happens to go. But I don't know.
Oh,
That's
really
just
put
my
a dark cloud on that one there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did get 2 World Series rings out of that
Yeah,
series.
no,
Scott,
you're right.
So
Yeah.
had to balance it out a bit. But I don't know. Lewis brought up an interesting point about Groshadz going to second base. Anybody else
You know what? When it
agree
comes
with
to
that?
Jordan Groshadz, it's such an interesting prospect in my opinion because he's not a guy that I'm super excited about. You know, like he doesn't have that Gabriel Moreno or that Aroldis Martinez shine. But at the same time, Groshadz is still just turning 23. He has progressed every single year. He's moved up a rank every year. Yes, he has struggled at every rank that he's risen to, but then he's found it and exceeded expectations. I mean, even if you look at how he finished AA last year and getting that promotion to AAA, like he was a 330 hitter with power from about mid-July on last year. So is he ready to jump to third base or even second base this year? Maybe, but who knows? My prediction for Jordan Groshadz is he goes to AAA, he struggles, he figures it out by the end of the season, and we're talking about him again this 2023 offseason going, is this the year, right? So,
Yeah. Craig, Joel, want to chime in there? Craig?
Well, you guys know, for me, Groshadz and Kirk are the centerpieces of my Jose Ramirez trade. No, literally, I didn't even. You guys know that's how I feel about this. So that's where I am on Jordan Groshadz. I'm right there with Scott. I have tepid enthusiasm for him. Scott says he just turned only 23. For me, he's already 23. I'm in that boat myself. So I'm not very high on him at all. I'm not very.
This Blue Jays core has spoiled you, Craig.
As well it should.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
special.
Listen, in a down year for Jordan Groshadz, he still had a 367 on base percentage. He
Yeah.
obviously is a very skilled player. And if the Jays held on to him for a Chapman trade, which would make sense, giving up a prospect third baseman for a third baseman now, that's what I thought was going to happen. Groshadz was going to be in that trade. I think they still trust him to be a good player, but when it comes to J-Ram, they're obviously going to say, yeah, we'll deal Groshadz.
Just before we move on with Groshadz, do we think Chapman gets an extension with this team? Is he going to get extended the way we extended Barrios, or is he just a 2-year bridge player?
2-year.
Yeah, I think so.
We got Aroldis and Groshadz and Manuel Beltre and all these guys that are eventually going to take that spot. Or J-Ram.
It's the perfect 2-year Simeon move. Simeon did that teaching, him, that connection he had with Bo, the fact that it's a short, he went and took second base, but he's teaching shortstop, the entire time. And what is being passed on through Chapman to everybody on the infield, he becomes the veteran of the infield at 28. And I feel like you get 2 years out of that. And that 2 years just makes you so strong in the short term and allows your schedule to be so flexible on when that next group of studs come up. So yeah, it's a great move. It's just a really great move.
So good.
Love it all the way around. We talked kind of at depth about Chapman's defensive prowess and just all the ways he's going to impact this team, not just at third base, but how he's going to help out the pitchers, how he's going to help out Bo Bichette playing the ball on his backhand. We're going to see Vladdy have a lot less trouble at first base. He's not going to have to jump for any balls, I don't think, coming from third this year. He's not going to have to dig as many out of the dirt. Let's talk about Chapman's bat now for a second. He's shown power in the past. We've all kind of referred to the Oakland Coliseum as a pretty big ballpark where balls go to die. I guess the simplest comparison is just to draw a comparison to Marcus Semien, right? We saw a big uptick in Marcus Semien's home run production when he came to Toronto. So relative to that, where does everyone see numbers?
And Donaldson,
kind
right?
of landing.
Yeah, Donaldson had a big uptick.
If Chapman's healthy, he's hitting 40 home runs.
I agree completely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Chapman had 36 in a healthy year was his most. I don't
29.
think Did Simeon or Donaldson have 36 before coming to the Jays?
Simeon's highest home run total
32.
was 33 in Oakland.
33. Okay.
Yeah, and I think Donaldson might have been 30-29, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you did 36 in Oakland. Technically, he's got the most power of the three, in my mind.
Yeah,
Donaldson
I agree.
and Simeon both came to Toronto and had multiple All-Stars in the lineup behind them. That's not the case for Chapman. I can't get behind 40. I think that's too lofty for me.
That is an interesting
Yeah, I
distinction,
guessed.
Craig, with Simeon hitting in the
Yeah.
right at the top of the order, and Chapman's going to be hitting at the back of the order. There is a definite
That's what I
difference
said.
there.
I predicted 33 home runs for Chapman this year, hitting in about the 6th hole is kind of what I predicted. So we'll see.
All right. It is interesting to note, though, how that might affect Vladdy's numbers. Vladdy's going to have a big bat behind him now to protect him. He's never really had that other than Teoscar behind him for power. Let's just quickly throw it around. 48 home runs from Vladdy last year. Is he going over that this year or under? Scott?
I think he hits 50.
Lewis?
I got the over on that one.
All right, Jen?
I I'm taking the under. I don't know why. I just
All
am.
right. The contrarian in Jen. All right, fair enough. Let's hope she's jinxing him. Craig, how about yourself?
Boy, I might as well go the over because I just am such a believer in Slim Daddy Vladdy. But let's, at some point later today, in a private moment when you're just reflecting on things, let's really think about that we've got a future in Slim Daddy Vladdy where we're sitting here talking about 48 home runs is the darn over. Absolutely. Are you absolutely kidding me right now? And it's legit. And the debate, could he go over that, is legit. Like, it is just, what a time, guys.
Wait.
What a
It was 48 home runs,
It
not
was
40.
Yeah, it was 48.
Oh, 48. I'm going the under. Sorry.
Under.
You went under, Lewis?
I'm going under 48. Sorry.
Joel, what about
My
yourself?
thought process is when Vladdy Sr. went from 22 to 23, his OPS went up 160 points. So I feel like that we may see something. I'm not going to say he's going to go to 1160 this year, but from when Vlad Sr. was 22, he had 800 OPS. When he was 23, he had a 960 OPS. So I feel like he is his father's son. So
His father's son with a better eye. I just wanted to read this comment here from the YouTube chat before I move on, and then we're going to get to Jose Ramirez and how that might work. So David Cook in the YouTube chat just wanted to point out Chapman is going to go from 4 at-bats a game to 3 at-bats a game coming to Toronto. So
God, no. Oh, no chance. No chance the 6 and 7 in the Blue Jay lineup get 3 at-bats per game. No chance. He's get 4 for sure. For sure. Who said that? Dane Cook, the comedian?
Dane Cook, yeah.
Dave Cook. No. David Cook, my man. Absolutely. That is, of all the things to be concerned about, that ain't it.
I love it. Well, thank you for
Craig's like, this team's going to mash. Everyone's going to hit 4 times.
Isn't it similar, like to say that hitting 6th in Toronto, he'd probably get a similar amount of bats hitting 4th in Oakland because of how many times that lineup's going to turn over compared to Oakland this year? Like, especially this year.
Yeah, especially this year. Poor Oakland.
Yeah,
They had such a good team last year. Like, I don't know how that fan base doesn't just go insane. They probably are.
Oakland. Remember that 4-game series in Toronto? Oakland was neck and neck with the Blue Jays, and Oakland was up like 94-0 in that first game and lost, and the Blue Jays swept that series. We killed that franchise.
That 9-run inning, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. That literally was the turning point in the season.
Absolutely.
That game.
That was game 1 of the 4-game series. They would sweep Oakland right out of the darn Rogers Center on that week. And if you guys take your mind's eye back, something tells me Lewis is going to remember this. Lewis, do you remember when it was like 8-0 in that game? Oakland was enjoying themselves in that dugout. It was a bit of a clowning they were giving the Blue Jays. And then the body language later was significantly different. Significantly.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting before we move on to Jose Ramirez, we're getting a lot of comments in chat here asking for everybody's thoughts on the Blue Jays going after Michael Conforto.
Give him to me. I want him. I want that lefty bat so bad. And as
He's
long
here.
as he's vaxxed and can play in Toronto. Sorry, Craig, what's that?
Go ahead.
He's here. Greg Bird. He's here. The left-handed bat.
All right.
All right. So Greg Bird having a nice spring training so far, and as we all know, spring training translates nicely into real stats. All right. So everybody would like Michael Conforto. I mean, left-handed bat is a nice thing. No, Craig's not in on
So,
Michael
Craig,
Conforto.
what don't you like about Conforto?
First of all, he's anti-vax. So you want to talk about telling me everything I need to know? That's for me. That's the end of the discussion. If you're forced to bring baseball into it, absolutely not. He was awful last season. I don't see anything I like in Conforto. I don't want any part of Michael Conforto.
But he's a left-handed bat. That's all we need. That's the only
He might
factor,
be vaccinated.
right?
If the Jays are interested, I'd say there's a chance he's vaccinated. And also, he got really unlucky last year, so I imagine he'll bounce back.
Jen,
We
Joel,
do need a
you wanna-
lefty bat. I feel like we need a lefty bat so bad. I know not everyone. Adam just
I'm
was like, I
so
don't care.
out
It
on
can
the
be all
value of
righties.
lefty bat. Well, I mean, would I
It-
rather have Kevin Biggio or would I rather have a second Vladdy? I don't know. I'd rather give me the righty that can mash. But
If you can't get J-Ram and Conforto is vaccinated, I really do like the fit because Teo's a free agent next year, right? And so is Lourdes. Am I right about that? So now
Lourdes
you kind of
is
have.
correct.
So
yeah,
now you kind of
Lourdes
have
is one more year.
Oh yeah, one more year. So with Teo being a free agent, now you kind of got stability with maybe a long-term contract with Conforto. So I don't know if they can get him and it does work. I think it's a good fit.
Would you be trying to extend Teoscar if you were the Blue Jays?
If they can fit into the budget, do it. I'd say.
I want him to be extended, but I think he's. I personally think he's definitely the Blue Jay that gets left out of the extension.
he's
Oh,
I think if the Jays don't sign him or give him an extension early in the season this year, if he does get to free agency, someone is gonna offer him a lopsided contract. I think.
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of upside in his bat, and I think there's a lot of teams that are willing to pay for that kind of bat. So I don't think the Jays would be wise to get into a bidding war over Teoscar Hernandez, but I also would hate to see him go. I think he's a great guy and love cheering for him. So
I'm a huge fan of his, so I really
Me too.
I hope they get it done personally, but yeah.
Yeah. Looking at the outfield market for next year, you might want to keep Teo around. It's not too, besides Aaron Judge and Joey Gallo at the top, which is going to hurt the Yankees, actually. There's not much there.
Yeah. I agree. That's
great input, Joel. That's why we've got you
about
here.
it.
All right. Well, let's talk
Well,
a fan.
I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
say with Teo, if you can get him on the enthusiasm of being a part of this team, because he's the happiest guy in the world, right? If you can go up to him and get him for 4 years, 80 million or something, and just slip that in like an Anthopoulos contract right now, because the bat speed, the protection he gives Vladdy, he reminds me of Batista in a way, of the way that he came around late, and his bat is absolutely ferocious. So if you can get him to stay here because of how happy, like we were the team that gave him this chance, coming out of Houston, he struggled here mightily for 2-3 seasons going up and down, and we stuck with him. We gave him that chance, and maybe if you can get him on the optimism of being a part of this team and the fact that, going from being a fourth outfielder to being a legitimate star who puts up comparable numbers to Aaron Judge, not defensively, but offensively, maybe you can get him on a little bit of a hometown, discount.
Discount for Teoscar. I love it. All right, well, let's pivot.
It just
from there.
worries me, right? Like, as we get closer to 2025 and you need to re-up Vladdy and you need to re-up Bo, I just feel like Teoscar's the one that gets left out in the dark. I don't want that. I want Teoscar on this team. It's just like at a certain point, there is some juggling that has to be done with this salary and the roster, right? Like, you can't sign everybody.
Yeah, it's sad because Gurriel and Teoscar on both sides of the outfield just feel like they're a part of that core young group. Like Teoscar's 29, but he's always there with Vladdy, right? And those 2 are like literally hugging each other. So it's just like you can't get rid of somebody that Vladdy's hugging, for 45 minutes of the game, right?
Well, I tell you what, after we're going to need a hole in the corner outfield. We're going to need some spot for Gabriel Moreno after Danny Jansen has a massive breakout year this year.
Oh.
But let's put a button in that for now. Let's finally talk Jose Ramirez. I mean, a lot of trade speculation. You would have thought trading for Matt Chapman would have taken us out of the running on a Jose Ramirez, but it seemed like quite the contrary. If anything, it just threw gasoline on that fire. And the question is now, are the Jays all in capital letters? So, Craig, let's start with you. Jose Ramirez, do you want him? How bad do you want him? Let's go there.
For over a year now. I'm blessed to say I can't even count how high I've been blessed to be on the walk-off. But I literally remember one of the first times, and this is going back a while, and man, I was imploring for Jose Ramirez. I don't think there's one player in baseball that you could handpick to come to this roster. A left-handed bat, a leader in the clubhouse. We've talked before, guys. Imagine a culture, imagine a team where the leadership is Slim Daddy Vladdy and Jose Ramirez. Free agents around the globe, around baseball, will be telling their agents, hey, take the Blue Jays off the absolutely not list and put them on the, hey, that's interesting. You see what they got going up there in Canada? Yeah, let's look into this list. It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. I'm madly in love with adding a Jose Ramirez. It ticks off so many boxes for me, and it really seems like he's there to be had for the Blue Jays. You hear Atkins talk about, he keeps talking about we can make another move now and at the trade deadline. So it really feels to me like they're trying to figure out what they want to do at that second base. Do they want to pull the trigger on Kirk? For me, I am all in on Jose Ramirez.
Jen, you're nodding along.
I completely agree with Craig. Prospects will break your heart, but flags fly forever. That's what I keep saying. And I absolutely think that he is, I keep saying I think that they do need an upgrade at second base, but he is the upgrade that they need at second base, right? As you said, providing that lefty bat, providing some of the WAR that was lost when Semien, walked out and everything like that. I really think that, if you can get him for Kirk plus whoever, you got to make that trade all day long.
What I love about Jose Ramirez is that when the rumors about him still being on the trade market after Matt Chapman was got by the Jays, that the rumors were like, oh, he'll go to second base. And it's like, if you look at the rankings, he is literally maybe the only one that isn't the only one who's defensively better than Jose Ramirez is Matt Chapman. Like, it's such a funny idea that we're going to move one of the best third basemen in baseball to second base after what we all experienced in 2021 at third base for the Jays. So I'm all for it. An embarrassment of riches, give it to me. Let's do it.
I really think J-Ram's going to be a J at some point in his career, whether it's maybe trade for him at the deadline next offseason, maybe even sign him once he's a free agent, when Matt Chapman leaves. I really think he's going to be a Blue Jay at some point.
There's an idea.
No, we want him now.
Sorry.
Craig's like, do not wait on this.
He'd be an outstanding second baseman too. Oh my God, I'm just all over. Now, guys, and as well. Now, Scott, you talk about embarrassment of riches. All honesty, we can wax poetically about the Blue Jays offense last season. Innings 1 through 6, from an OPS standpoint, they were historic. They were one of the greatest teams that ever lived in the history of baseball. Innings 7, 8, and 9, they were one of the worst hitting teams in the history of baseball. And I think Jose Ramirez does a lot to address that. I find Jose Ramirez to be very clutch. For me, this is a gift that keeps on giving. Again, let's go back to that leadership in the locker room as well, guys. This guy would fit right in.
How much of that stat do you all think is luck, and how much of that stat is a lack of production when the chips are down?
A lot of luck.
Good question, Scott. Good question.
It's a lot of luck. There was a bit of an explanation for that I saw on Twitter, that we couldn't really hit high-velocity fastballs from relievers, but in reality, the Jays were one of the best high-velocity hitting teams in baseball. We had the highest OPS against 95-mile-per-hour fastballs. So I really think it just comes down to luck. And this year, it's going to balance that out. And obviously, Jose Ramirez would help balance that out.
Joel.
To add to that, I feel like you've got a core group of your team that are in their first 1,000 at bats in the majors as well. So getting that, seeing everyone in the AL East, seeing everyone in the American League, and getting that familiarity for Bo and Vladdy. But like, if you bring in Jose Ramirez, you have 28 WAR on the infield, right? Like, you've seriously got that. You've got 7 across the board there. You've got 28 WAR on the infield, and then if you have a healthy season from Springer, the sky is absolutely the limit on that team, and I think that's your World Series favorite if Jose Ramirez is on this ball club. We're already, I think, 100-win team, but that is.
Do we win the East?
Interesting.
It answers the lefty bat. You got a switchy now. You got a switch hitter, and it's just like. And then how do you construct it? Like, does somebody want to tell me how you build that lineup? Who hits leadoff?
Springer.
Springer hits leadoff?
Yeah.
Best
One of the
leadoff hitter.
greatest.
Yeah.
Gotta be Springer.
Okay, so
Springer, J-Ram, Vladdy, Bo, and then everybody else.
that's how you do it.
Dale,
Okay, so Bo
Chapman,
goes to
yeah.
4.
Oscar close out that lineup, and that's 100.
Kirk.
Yeah.
Kirk
Yeah.
is your
Teoscar
9
hits 7th.
Kirk is your 9 hitter.
You take like 118 RBI guy and you're shifting him to 5th. Like, it's Bo is hitting 4th. It's insane. It's insane. And please, Carlos Baerga, right? I trusted him. He's the one who said it was going to happen. So
this conversation started with Scott asking about Jay's productions in inning 1 through 6 versus 7, 8, 9, and a question of clutchness and the ability for this team to just get it done when the chips are on the table. I wonder what the splits are on early in the season versus late in the season, if we're going to compare those same chunks of innings, because it sure felt like in September everybody was getting their turn, being pretty gosh darn clutch, coming up with big hits. Felt like everybody, when the stakes were there, was getting it done. So this is going to sound like a joke and like I'm just picking on him, but I genuinely wonder what the impact was in terms of like deflating our offense after watching Chatwood throw 16 straight balls in the dirt. Like, psychologically, when you're in the 6th inning and you've got a 3-0 lead, and then you watch Chatwood walk 5 straight batters, and now all of a sudden you're down 4-3. That's got to play into it, doesn't it?
also
Psychologically, I think the bullpen hurt the Jays really badly in June. I think it's why you saw Atkins and Shapiro make bullpen moves in June, that far before the trade deadline. I don't think, I can't even remember teams making bullpen moves in June like the Jays did last year. Like, the bullpen was on fire. Like, Rafael Dolis was our highest leverage reliever at a point, and all of us were like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding!"
Also, you're not, for the 2/3 of the season last year, you're not rallying on fan support in the home half of innings.
That's
right?
true too.
Right. So, and when you saw that team come around in Toronto, they were this 9-run an inning team. Like, they did that. They put up 9 runs, and I think like 4 days later they put up like 7 runs in an inning. Like, they became something completely different at home. And I think that late inning drive, that late inning fire from this home crowd will play into that drastically, right? That 25-11 team is probably going to hit pretty good in 7th, 8th, and 9th innings when they're at home.
That's a great point. Does anybody want to add to that before we move on to someone? Hopefully one of the 5 of you can convince me why we actually need a lefty bat.
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question. Let's come back to that. Lewis asked Joel, "Hey, you're waxing poetically about this team, Joel. So do they win the AL East?" So let's not bury that question, because that's an important one.
Well, we're going to get to that. We do have that coming up. We're going to have
Okay.
expectations for this Blue Jays team, but I just really want to hammer this home, because like, I understand the advantage of being like of the lefty splits and everything like this and matchups, but with today's day and age, I don't understand how we think having a left-handed bat hitting 7 is going to have an impact on the rest of the lineup?
In the later innings, I think it does because it affects bullpen moves.
But who is making a bullpen move that is going to hurt their chances to pitch against the top of the order by saying no, we got to bring in the lefty to face Kevin Biggio in the 8 hole? Like, what why are teams even is that a thing, and why are teams doing that?
I was going to
say you would just say, okay, well, we'll just take the loss on this 8 hitter batting left against us because we need our pitchers.
Okay. I feel like, number one, Biggio is a terrible example that you're using here. Of course, nobody is going to give in to Kevin Biggio, and I love Biggio, and I hope he's healthy, and I think that he does have a great eye at the plate and does have discipline. But no, what I want to see in this Blue Jays lineup is a bat like Ramirez or a bat like Conforto, where you're putting him in that 5 hole or that 4 hole, and all of a sudden, when the top of the order rolls around, they need to think twice about just bringing in a guy who's a pure lefty, who's just got great splits against the righty, but can't get a guy, a righty or whatever it is, right? Like,
especially now.
I want a middle of the order lefty bat is what I'm saying. I don't want just any lefty bat.
I don't want Greg Bird at the bottom of my lineup.
Yeah.
That's not the lefty I'm asking for.
That's a great example because, I mean, this whole Blue Jays fan base, it seems like, has a massive Greg Bird boner right now, and I don't get it. Like, I mean, for one,
Bird's the word, dude.
Bird is the word. I get it, but like, for real, like, I don't like, if we're getting Jose Ramirez, sure. If we're getting Freddie Freeman, sure. Like, if we're getting a legitimate hitter, but then why not just get a good hitter? I don't know. It's just
my thing was like platooning a position is great because it gives that position, like, if you don't have the strongest righty, or platooning a position goes back all the way, and it allows that position to be stronger because it technically becomes a switch hitter because you're playing a different guy dependent on the arm. But also, I feel like a lefty matters because when you have a team like the Blue Jays who are all righties, if you got a righty on the mound, they can get into a groove with a specific with certain pitches. If they're trying to overly work you inside and then break off the breaking ball away, when you have that lefty, you have to throw different pitches. You have to approach it differently. And especially if you have a diverse lineup where, like, you've got back-to-back left-handed bats where the pitcher has to come in and has to throw to 2 lefties, and he has to throw 13 pitches to 2 lefties. And then that righty comes back up and he hasn't located those pitches he hasn't thrown to those spots in the strike zone for the last 15 pitches, and he leaves one out over the zone, right? I think the lefty also helps set up the righty, because the pitcher has to approach the at-bat differently.
All right, when you're talking about groove, that's the best explanation I've heard so far, so thank you, Joel.
Because Lewis is the righty. Like, you hate facing lefty batters, right?
Yeah, my slider doesn't really work against lefties, which sucks. They don't swing at it.
But, like, if Lewis is on fire, we're not pulling him out of the game because a lefty's showing up, right? Are we?
Adam, have you not watched baseball the last 4 years?
I mean, is that why he got pulled in the World Series?
The more confusing you can make it for a pitcher, simply just having a lefty in the lineup, the easier the game becomes for you.
So, okay, now let me, because I mean, Joey Gallo is in the news recently with, like, just learn to hit against the shift, right? Just learn to hit it the other way.
That's garbage. That's garbage.
But so why do we say that to hitters, but we don't say that to pitchers? Like, why is it not just like, we'll just learn to throw against the lefty? Just learn to.
We do say that to pitchers.
I just don't.
It's a game of adjustments.
All right.
That's actually interesting.
We're going in circles here, but it is interesting to just wonder why, like, I don't know. Pitchers are just such a finely tuned machine that you can't really mess with them. But
yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
I promise this will be the last time I bring this up, but I am curious as to your love for Joey Gallo, Lewis. What is it? Explain to me why so many people love Joey Gallo.
That guy's gonna hurt us this year. So when we're playing against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, that guy is gonna hit some very far home runs against us. But I do like the addition of Kikuchi and Ryu, and I think it's going to make it tougher on him. But that guy's he got unlucky last year. He was under a bit of pressure in New York, and with the shift getting banned next year, that guy's going to make he's going to make a lot of money in free agency.
They're legislating Joey Gallo into being a good player.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I really like him.
Well, as annoying as it is to think of legislating Joey Gallo into being a good player, I mean, the trickle down is going to impact everybody at all of baseball, right? So
that's true.
It is unfortunately probably a necessary evil just for the love of the game's sake. But any other thoughts here on Jose Ramirez or lefty bats or anything before we move on and talk Blue Jays expectations for 2022?
Ketel Marte, we didn't really talk about him. I wonder if he's an option, but I haven't really seen any buzz about him. I don't think Arizona wants to move him.
I do love Ketel Marte, and I do love the fact that he also could play some time in center field, which definitely makes Randall Grichuk a little bit more expendable. Not that he's not expendable now, but, I mean, he is very serviceable as a center fielder right now, and he's kind of the only guy who is.
Yeah, and he plays second base, which is the hole we were talking about. So,
Marte in center field is probably the worst defensive center fielder, but I am way in, man. I am. We've talked about this on the walk-off as well. Yeah. Something that takes wear and tear off of Springer in center field. I am way in. I thought that was led to a lot of his re-injuries last season, was chasing down the coverage he had to have in center field, smashing up against that wall. I think if we can move him over to right field or DH or days off, I think if we can help monitor some of that wear and tear, I'd be all for it. And I love Ketel Marte, and I'm with you, Scott. Yeah, you know I like Biggio as well, but Ketel Marte, how do you say the Pac-Man thing? Like the greater than Ketel Marte, Pac-Man, any other option we have at second base right now? Absolutely yes.
We're getting one more guy this offseason.
Wouldn't have to give up as much to bring Marte in as well, when compared to Jose Ramirez, right?
I think it'd be around about the same. He's got 3 years.
He does have that extra year of control, right?
Yeah. Yes, the year of control is a big factor.
And Arizona is one of those teams that's just like everybody. That's a head scratcher. They're signing Melanson, like they're bringing in guys as well. So are they looking to compete right now with this extra wild card? Man, teams are making it rain. Everybody's sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, us too." Then everybody seems to fancy themselves. Chris Bryant over in Colorado, like you absolutely kidding me. So
that was such a weird one.
He's getting paid more than George Springer, which.
All right. Well, we'll talk free agency here in a minute. I do want to just touch on Blue Jays expectations. Then we got some Josh Donaldson news here, and I know a few of you have to dip out here, so let's keep the ball rolling a little bit. Blue Jays in 2022. So this season, let's just fire it around quickly. 99.5 wins, over or under? Lewis, let's start with you.
I need to see them get a lefty, and then I'll hit the over on that one. But right now, under.
Of course. It's that lefty difference. Jen, how about yourself? Lefty.
I'm taking the under right now.
Under, okay. Greg?
It's too big of a number. And we haven't done enough to pass Tampa, in my opinion. It's too big of a number.
Under. Or too big of a jump from last year.
All right, yeah. Joel?
Fuck yeah.
High five me right through this screen, would you?
Absolutely. We're 25-11 at home. We got that all year. Our pitching staff is way better than it was at the starting of last season. Our number one pitcher last year was Hyun-Jin Ryu with we had no idea what Robbie Ray would be, and now it's Gausman, it's Barrios, it's Manoah, it's Kikuchi, it's Pearson looking amazing and wanting that starting spot. I think, why not? Come on, let's go. 102 wins.
Well, the why
division.
Not? Why not? An unbalanced schedule. That's 19 against the Rays, where the Jays average a 6-13 record. That's 19 against the Yanks. That's 19 against the Red Sox. That's the why not, Commie. That's the why not, Joel. Right. It's still an unbalanced schedule.
Hold on to that. Let's hold on to that thought. Let's get Scott's input here before we start making very good points. Okay, Scott, over under.
I'm going under, but I'm going to go even one more than that, and I'm going to say that no team in the in the AL East wins 100 games. I think this AL East is the biggest meat grinder in baseball right now, and I think we're going to see something very comparable to last year. All of us are going to be pulling our hair out. Craig's already ahead of the game here, but every team other than the Orioles, I think, is going to be somewhere between that 92 to 95 wins, and I think it's going to just be the worst as a fan in the division to watch teams like the White Sox finish ahead of us, even though we know that it's just because we need to play, like Craig mentioned, the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox 19 times this year.
Yeah. I think we're a 97 win team right now.
Ooh, okay.
With how we ended the year, I think we were on schedule to win like 99 games with that team that we had at the end of the month, and how we're kind of the same team value-wise, and we lost Simeon and Ray, but obviously they've been replaced and their value will be found through other avenues. But this team is really close, but it's not better than the Rays yet.
Yeah, our run differential last year had us at 98 wins.
Yeah.
Right? Our run differential had us at 98 wins. We underperformed by 7 wins. If we just play true to that, we're 1 win off. Yeah. So
and because
I think it's possible.
Yeah, the upgraded bullpen's going to help that as well. So
right now, Fangraphs is projecting the Jays to win 93 games, and Pacoda's projecting 92. So,
but Fangraphs also rates us to win the AL East with only 93 wins.
Right, they do.
So,
they do, and both seem to think that the Jays are the odds-on favorite to make it to the World Series out of the American League, right? But I don't know. That team that finished last season, I think over the course of a season would have been a 100-win team had they played their home games actually at home, right? And so when you take a look at this team, they are similar in construction. Okay, you lost Simeon, you added Chapman, you lost Ray, you added Gosman, you lost Matz, you added Kikuchi. Okay, so, you're hoping for a healthy George Springer to make up, some of the difference there. But you're still counting on a lot of things. Like you're still counting on, Vlad having a major season and Teoscar having a major season and Bichette and so on and so forth. Like literally every single thing has to go right. And I'm high on this team. I just don't see 100 wins.
And guys, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just think of the time to be alive. So there's Adam saying, hey, 99 and a half. Did they get there, Craig? No. Lewis was right. They only got 97. Right now, kidding? That's where we are in this fan base right now. Man, Shapiro and Atkins.
Yeah, beautiful time to be a Jays fan for sure.
Yeah, I saw this report saying that we were in on Trevor's story, even though we already had Chapman. So I still think there's one more move left in this offseason.
Still kicking the tires out there, aren't they? They're still kicking the tires.
Can we just jump into free agency? Because can we, that Trevor Story signing, he got a shit ton more than anyone thought, right? That's a crazy contract for him, no?
That just reeks of Boston desperation.
Yeah, I think it does. It's a slight overpay. I think there's a really good chance he could fulfill the value of that contract for the first couple of years. But, that guy's had injury problems, elbow problems. If he moves back to short, that could be weird with Bogarts leaving. It's a weird contract. The fit's okay, but I think it was an overpay from Boston.
I just couldn't believe the term. 6 years just seems like I really had Story pegged, especially after watching Correa get 3 years. I was like, well, Story might need to take a 1-year rebuild. He might need to do a Simeon move.
Yeah. Did you see the opt-out after the 4th year?
Yeah, weird. And that's a player opt-out, right?
And there's a weird
out. If he exercises it, then the Red Sox triggers a Red Sox option where they can add 3 years to the contract. So he could say, guys, this has been great, man. I really appreciate it, but I'm out of here. And the Red Sox can say, what? Don't fill out those affording addresses just yet, brother. Hey, you are here 3 more years.
Because we always see that with 36-year-old second baseman. Why wouldn't I re-up them for 3 more years?
Well, the career OPS at home for him is 950. His OPS on the road is 760. It's 190 points lower, right? And we saw Arenado go from a 940 OPS guy to 800 in St. Louis at 30. right? Like, don't get me, he hit some home runs, he knocked in 100 runs. He's a great defensive third baseman, but there was a 100-point drop in his OPS. Okay, and I think that, like, don't get me wrong, it's a righty heaven in Fenway, but I at the same point, how many Boston righties have hit 50 home runs?
Did Mookie Betts do that?
That's a great question.
Right? In the oldest stadium ever at Fenway, right? Like, this is dating back 100. Do you have? I don't think you have any. I don't know. Did Yastrzemski ever have a 50 homer season? Right? It's not. It's as much as you think that wall is easy to hit home runs. It takes away just as many.
Yeah,
Trevor takes away the ones that you absolutely cork. Like Giancarlo Stanton hit 2 balls that should have went 430 feet, and they went right into that wall and dead stopped. And
for a
the
single,
were not.
Yeah,
that's the end of the Yankees last year. So for as much as people think that that's going to magically make him hit 40 home runs, it'll take away as much as it gives.
I think he also hits a majority of his fly balls the opposite way into center field. So Fenway does not help him there at all.
Deep
to right
field
center, right?
Fenway.
To right center, which is not going to play at Fenway.
Not at all.
Yeah, we could see. Yeah. This could turn into a really rough contract really fast.
And of Bogarts
open.
Of Bogarts Story, you got to have Bogarts play second base. Story's an outstanding defensive shortstop, especially in comparison to Bogarts. So I don't get any of this.
Yeah.
Well, there is concerns with Trevor Story's arm strength taking a dip here the last couple of years, and I think that's the motivation behind moving him to second is not so much with the glove, but just to take a little bit of load off of that arm because.
Weirdly enough, it just seems to me like they spent $160 million on Kike Hernandez.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like Kike is going to put up like the same kind of numbers. And,
Lord.
I mean, who had, when you looked, like, and let's face it, I have said this since I was looking at the free agent shortstop class, and I think it might have been the strongest shortstop class to ever hit free agency in MLB history, and if it's not, it's pretty darn close. And to watch where everyone fell, like I feel shocked and blown away. Like Corey Seager, who had Corey Seager as the guy to get the most term and most money? Who had Marcus Semien being the big winner of this free agent class? Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
To watch Correa, then and then the Twins. Like, can someone talk about the Twins and the magic that they just pulled off?
We're all over the place. So let's start with the Twins because this is going to lead into some Josh Donaldson news that I know I really want to get to before Jen has to leave here. So Josh Donaldson to the New York Yankees. That's a heartbreaking deal for a lot of Blue Jays fans. A lot of Blue Jays fans still love Josh Donaldson. We have to hate him now, right?
No, I honestly love the fit. It's great. It's going to be so good.
All right. Well, Lewis, thanks for coming. We'll talk to you later. No, my rule of thumb here is if you got a Josh Donaldson jersey and you want to wear it to a Jays game, you're allowed. But I don't want to hear how great Josh Donaldson's playing in New York, and I wish him the best. I do not wish him the best this year. Maybe when his contract's over and he goes somewhere else, but while he's in New York, I want to see him struggle. So where's everyone else feel about the Josh Donaldson? How surprised were you they made that trade? I don't know where to even start there.
I thought the two people who hated each other like the most last year was Garrett Cole and Josh Donaldson, and now they're on the same team.
That is interesting.
I think the Yankees kind of do the opposite of building a clubhouse that loves each other. It's like, hey, shave your beard off, because that makes you a baseball player if you have facial hair or not. And we don't care. They've got Domingo Germán, they got Chapman, who both have like past history and domestic abuse. And then they bring in A-Rod, and they bring in Donaldson, who hates Garrett Cole. They don't care. Whereas like the Blue Jays are literally like a big hug fiesta, and the Yankees don't care about how the players interact with each other. I guess that's not an aspect of a baseball team is these guys, because they make so much money. You're professionals, caring about each other doesn't mean anything. And when you listen to like Garrett Cole talk about his conversation with like Josh, it was like, oh, it was constructive. It was like, no, it wasn't. Like, you two clearly still hate each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just really interesting moves that like none of that. Does Cashman know that those guys don't like each other at all?
Cashman just doesn't have Twitter. That's his problem.
I think Josh Donaldson makes the perfect Yankee. Does he not?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of that swagger, you know, you love him when he's playing well and the team's playing well, but that's when you maybe can tolerate him. And other than that, things get chippy. I don't know. I think he's the perfect Yankee. You don't have to hate him if you're a Jays fan, but I think he'll be really fun to cheer against.
Yeah, I think looking at the Yankees makes me very thankful that I'm a Jays fan, because all the things that the Jays do make sense. Trade for Chapman, sign Springer. The Yankees are all over the place.
They're chasing their tails,
their
aren't they?
clubhouse is all over the place. Like, isn't it so great that we have a team that just loves and adores each other and just goes out there and has fun when they're playing baseball? When the Yankees do it, it's like Gleyber Torres doesn't know how to field a baseball, and everyone's getting angry at him, and nothing fits.
I don't think
Everything.
they're allowed to smile.
It's crazy.
That's the difference between this Blue Jays team and the 2015 team, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The 2015 team really were not necessarily the most likable guys, unless you were a fan of the Blue Jays.
Unless you were a fan, yeah.
Right? And then you loved them, but really they were not exactly the most lovable group of guys. But this current team, you're rooting for them, and if you're from another fan base and you've got to pick a team in the AL or the AL East to cheer for, I mean, this is your team, right? So
Well, we were like the 2015-16 Blue Jays were almost a bunch of misfits that were like, you know, Edwin Encarnacion is like given up on. Batista is a fourth outfielder in Pittsburgh. So where are you going to go next? Canada, right? Like that's all that's left at that point. And we were able to take that group of misfits and then within 7 years build a team internally that is, you know, reminds you of the Yankees dynasties that built internally, or the way the Red Sox would build internally in the early 2000s. It's wild that you could go from literally misfit team thrown together that has a chip on their shoulder to, you know, internally built love fest. And in 7 years, I love it. Lewis is 100% right. It just feels like they're doing all the right things. And I'm so excited for this season.
Well, this is a good time to jump into this Discord question here that we got earlier today. So this one comes in from Discord. It says, Twins look like they got a new shortstop after trading Donaldson to the Yankees this week. Would anyone disagree or agree that the Yankees look like a team that's just getting older with a higher payroll and look like it might all come crashing down in the near future? Or is that just wishful thinking on the part of a Blue Jays fan?
I still think they're a very good team, but a lot of things could go wrong very quickly if they're not careful.
If there is some injury problems in
This
Yankee
team-
land, there
yeah.
will be literal chaos amongst the fans. And they are not a very friendly fan base when things start to unravel. I think we could literally see this team getting booed if things go as poorly as they possibly could. Like, literally, like, let's say Josh Donaldson has tweaks his knee and is out for a month, and all of a sudden everyone's like watching Gio Urshela just crush it with the Twins, right? And you're like, ooh.
Yeah. If Isaiah Kiner-Falefa gets injured, Gleyber Torres becomes their shortstop. So, yeah.
Yeah, but the Yankees always find a way to still be good, unfortunately.
Their
right? Like,
pitching
they're
is
not the
very
Mets.
good.
The Mets
pitching's
prove that you can spend money and still money doesn't equate to wins, right? But the Yankees are not the Mets, and for some reason the Yankees still find a way to be a good organization, and I fucking hate it.
My thing was going to be, my thing is that they're forced to get Judge. They're forced to re-sign Judge. Judge is if you're a Yankees fan, he's your number one Yankee. He's the only one you got one on the team. If you would deal everybody so that Judge was on the team, if you're a Yankee fan, they love that guy so much. So now they're locked into potentially another close to $300 million contract with Judge, which puts $900 million between three players, between Garrett Cole, between Stanton, between Judge. And if that's the case, that is Garrett Cole's, the batting average on his fastball against when he doesn't use foreign substance is 260. That's not that great. That is not super elite. You saw as soon as that stuff was taken away from him, that ERA shot up to 320 at the end of the year last year. And I know he had a little bit of an injury, but that's, if you've got a guy that you're paying $325 million to have a 310 ERA, you're overpaying. If you've got a DH who makes $350 million, you're overpaying. And if you've got Judge, who has got a 50 home run season and a 37 home run season, and then injury plague, and you expect him to be able to produce 10 years through his 30s, for $900 million between those three players, you could see, the World Series drought from 2009 carry on considerably into the future.
Just some free agents that are going to be some guys that are going to be free agents after this year: Chad Green, Jamison Tyone, Joey Gallo, Aaron Judge, Luis Severino, and Aroldis Chapman. This team's going to fall apart very quickly.
None of these guys are their big money dudes. It's not like there's a ton of money coming off the books for the Yanks either.
Yeah, the highest payroll there is Aroldis Chapman at 18 mil. It'll be good to get him off the payroll.
Yeah,
but you gotta extend Judge here for over 300 million because someone's going to give him that. The Yankees are in a tough spot, and it's great to see.
I can't imagine giving Judge a $300 million contract. That is insanity to me. I think that's bad. That's bad business.
Also, I do want to just kind of tip my hat towards the Minnesota Twins a little bit, because the mastery in which they
just swindled them.
But by the way they attacked this offseason and the way that it worked out is so impressive, because the steps they had to take to pull this Correa deal off, it literally could have been derailed at any time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they were doing some crazy stuff that if it didn't work out, everyone in Minnesota would have been like, what the hell was this offseason?
Yeah.
Right? Like, when they moved Donaldson, and everyone's like, what is happening? Like, how is this unfolding? And then to watch them get Correa for 3 years, I don't even understand that deal. Like, can someone explain to me why Correa took that? Because of the opt-out, right? That's the only reason?
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal in my mind. I don't see him staying there for more than one season. He'll become a free agent again and get his $300 million contract that he's been looking for.
Yeah.
In a shortstop class that isn't one of the best out there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the shortstop class is next year. We'll check that out.
I think that's a deal both sides knew is a 1-year deal. I think that making it a 3-year deal is a little bit of fan service and maybe kind of bullshit in your fan base there in Minnesota to think that, hey, we got Correa, we got a 3-year window where we're gonna be going for it, but there's no way he's a Twin in 2023, right?
Well, it wasn't even the Twins. It was Scott Boras's agency window dressing it. Now Scott Boras's agency, after the 1-year opt-out, is the agency of record, and the 300 he signs all goes to the Scott Boras agency.
Yeah, Boras had a lot to do with that. Now that shortstop market next year looks pretty solid. You're going to see Dansby Swanson become a free agent, so Atlanta could be in the market for Correa. That Atlanta team, by the way, they've had an amazing offseason. Yeah, Trey Turner is going to be a free agent, as well as Alexander Bogaerts. Yeah, next year's going to be a good shortstop market again, so it'll be fun to watch.
It makes sense because, Correa could fit really well in Atlanta or Los Angeles.
I got to go in 2 minutes, so.
All right, well, let's.
Correa could fit really well in Toronto. No.
Let's just take a pause here and let's thanks Lewis for taking the time. I know he's got to dip out here, but Lewis, thanks for all your insight once again. And Jen, you got to go as well. Okay, perfect time. And then let's just do a big group hug and say goodbye to the both of you. And we again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. And hopefully we're able to do it again in the near future. Jen, this was a lot of fun, and appreciate all your insights. So
great, thank you.
Guys.
Yeah.
Stay fun. Later.
You too.
Thanks. Thanks, both of you.
All right. Well, there is the end of the transition. So just the four of us remain. So how's it going, guys?
Room to breathe, room to
All right.
stretch.
So tell me how you really feel about them. All right. So where did we leave off then? We were kind of just in the middle of free agency. Donaldson to the Yankees through a trade. Correa to the Twins. Was the Twins on anybody's radar as being a Carlos Correa contender going into this season? So we talk about like the witchcraft and the smoke and mirrors that the Twins kind of played this offseason. Did they just fall backwards into that, or was that their plan all along?
No, they fell back into it.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that Boris meeting with the Twins, how he convinced them to even take their checkbook out and make an offer. Like, that's just so weird that Correa's a Twin. Like, I don't know. Well, let's pivot this way then. Let's talk in broad strokes. Biggest surprises from free agency this year. Trevor Story to the Red Sox is a big one. Carlos Correa to the Twins is a big one. But I mean, then you go back to like Simeon and Seager to the Rangers, right? Like
500.
The Rangers,
so many
Rangers,
wild moves.
The Rangers spending $500 million was a shock to me. I don't know about you guys, but that was pretty wild to see.
Yeah, very wild. Joel?
Yeah, that was my like spending 180 on Simeon, 325 on Seager, got those two shortstops, and then I think what shocked me was that they didn't land a pitcher to make that make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they would have got somebody like Rodon or Kershaw or somebody just to make you go, oh, okay, they're not just like going crazy in the middle infield. There's something else. There's a little bit more to this baseball team than just that. But their starting rotation is John Gray is their number one. Right? You spent $580 million on two shortstops, but your number one is John Gray. So it's just like it's a new stadium, right? In Texas, you got to, I don't know, bring the fans in because it's a new stadium. I guess they'll probably be making more moves in years to come, but that's wild. That is
like
wild.
Craig, do you see this Rangers team being competitive in 2022?
No, absolutely not. I thought Simeon and Seager both went for the cash grab, for the money, and especially for the pitching staff. Yes, but as far as the free agent moves that were a surprise, how about a bit of a curveball here? No pun intended, because he's got the best one in baseball, the slurve. How about the early re-up a year early with Jose Barrios? That for me came and was an absolute stunner. I'll also throw in Jansen going to the Braves. Mm-hmm. The biggest surprise for me this offseason, in a clubhouse full of jerks like the Yankees have, how did they decide Luke Voit was a bridge too far? Like, how did they give Luke Voit? I don't understand it.
That is a real question mark, because in that shortened season, he led the league in homers.
Yes.
And San Diego got such horrible news with Tatis getting hurt, but then was able to move, a 20-year-old kid who throws the ball 100 miles an hour. So those are, there's 1,000 of them nowadays. And, but that just seemed, that was a great move for them to be able to, because Eric Hosmer and the lack of offense that they have there at first base, spending, that's one of the worst contracts in all of baseball too. So to be able to get Voit, and if he's healthy and he puts 35 home runs up, then maybe San Diego can sputter until Tatis is healthy. I don't know. That's a wild situation.
So honestly, go ahead, Adam.
It's fine. I was just gonna say, did you guys look into this article or this news of Voit picking on the prospects at training camp and getting into a fight with Rizzo? Like,
that was from a spoof. Oh, that was from a spoof.
Did I just get belfed?
Onion version of
Oh, I got belfed. All right.
Stop calling it that. Okay, so I do honestly, when it comes to just like pure knowledge of the game, Craig and Joel, you're a couple of my favorites to talk baseball with and to hear your opinion. So I do want you to just take your Jays hat off for a second and try and tackle this as objectively as you can, because I am beside myself with what the Yankees are doing. Can one of you explain what you think their end goal is right now? Like, it just seems like they're kind of flailing a bit in the wind, and their deals aren't making a ton of sense to me.
See, I'm on the other side of that. I've liked what the Yankees have done quite a bit. So, Joel, do you want to?
Okay.
Do you want to continue to shovel the dirt on them, Joel, and then I'll see what I can say?
For me, I think the points that I just made was the fact that they're so obligated to three guys on that roster. Like the fact that you're spending $350 million on Stanton is tough. He's a great bat, but like you can't put him out in the field until September. Also, the lack of all those pieces that they're going to be losing next year that Lewis mentioned, and Isaiah kind of Falefa at shortstop, like 670 OPS last year, like good defensive guy at third base. To me, I always thought that the point of that guy was that he could actually catch like 30 or 40 games a year, but I guess that's not a thing anymore. And I don't know. I haven't seen Glaber come back to being the Glaber that he was. If Glaber's not hitting 25 home runs against Baltimore, I don't know if he's really, that sensational of a second baseman. So Hicks is coming back after Tommy John. Gallo strikes out 210 times a year. They changed the shift, but they didn't change, they didn't give him a fourth strike. So I don't know how it's really that going to help him that much. But yeah, I don't know. And I think the thing that I saw in the Yankees last year was the Yankees were the best when they had guys like Tyler Wade in there and they had more athleticism. And they were able to steal bases, and they went for like there was a time where injuries actually made them actually field a legitimate baseball team. And then and what I mean by that is like a shortstop who plays shortstop, and you're not seeking out OPS everywhere. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're
dummy me, Craig.
I want to jump into before Craig does, because Craig's going to say some smart stuff. So I want to just get some more stupid stuff to agree with Scott out of the way first. From my perspective, it does feel like, what was the expression you used, Scott? It feels like they're running around. What are the Yankees
flailing
doing?
In the wind.
Flailing in the wind. Yes, that's a great analogy there, metaphor. I'm not good at English. It feels like, to me, like those cartoons of the kids that just keep, like the dam springs a leak and they put a piece of bubble gum on this one and then they stick their thumb in this hole and then there's a toe in that hole. And it's just the Yankees are just constantly trying to keep this dam from breaking, and they know they got that big Aaron Judge contract coming up. It does feel like, to contrast it with the moves that the Blue Jays have made, it doesn't feel like, and I hope Craig can convince me that I'm an idiot here, but it doesn't feel like these are all part of one big cohesive plan. It does just kind of feel like there's a hole and let's do something drastic and try and change it, and then something else comes up and now we got to address that. Whereas it is nice as to pump the tires of the Blue Jays here.
Do you guys really feel Josh Donaldson is going to be that much of a upgrade over Gio Urshela? Like, listen, I'm not saying Urshela is the be all and end all by any means, but he's been a fairly serviceable third baseman on that Yankees team since they picked him up.
I think Gio Urshela is absolutely terrible. You talk about plugging things, Adam. I love that. Well, it's not bad to plug that first hole with Luis Severino coming back. It's not bad to plug that next one with Kiner Falefa at shortstop. Jays fans are excited about Aroldis Martinez, as well they should be. Yankees have 3 Aroldis Martinez's coming. That shortstop spot is spoken for with super coming. So a nice stopgap at defensively, and the improvement. I can't stand Josh Donaldson. But I have to pride myself on calling it the way I see it. He is a top 5 offensive third baseman on planet Earth. That is an amazing upgrade for them at third base. Gary Sanchez was a 4-letter word to that fan base. They jettisoned him. I like a lot of what the Yankees have done. They've got guys coming back from injury. I didn't want to get kicked off earlier I didn't want Lewis and Baseball Jen to be upset with me. So I held my tongue when we were all tap dancing on the Yankees' grave. But for me, it is significantly premature to be tap dancing on the Yankees' grave. I very much have liked what they've done all season. And I'll predict right now at Long Toss episode number 9, we're talking about the Yankees have just added either Manaea or Montas to the top.
Which will totally change the look of what this offseason has been like for the Yankees, 100%. If they land Frankie Montas, like, let's be serious, that changes a lot.
So while we're giving the Yankees some props here, let's just do this for the AL East before we move on. We talked Jays over under 99.5 wins earlier. Let's just do a power rankings for the AL East. Baltimore, and then who's after that? Scott? No, for real. Jays, Rays, Yankees, and Red Sox. All 4 have a pretty good shot at making the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Won't we be stunned if it doesn't make the playoffs?
What's that?
Won't we be stunned if all 4 do not make the playoffs? Won't we be downright?
Yeah, it's just insanity to think of all 4 coming from the same division. But yeah, when you actually like look at it, I'd be more shocked if one of them didn't make the playoffs. I guess the way I should just frame this in a nice, efficient package, the takeaway for anybody watching this, and thank you to the 60 people on YouTube watching right now.
Wow.
Who should Blue Jays fans going into this season have our eyes on as the biggest threat to this Blue Jays road to the World Series? Like, should we be paying our best attention to how the Rays are doing, the Yankees, or the Red Sox?
It's always the Rays.
Just the Rays.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when there was the American League East West, when we've covered that. I'm old. But it used to be the Milwaukee Brewers. It didn't matter what place the Blue Jays were in. It didn't matter what place the Brewers were in. The Brewers always beat the Jays. Now the baseball gods smiled on the Blue Jays and got Milwaukee the hell out of there. But here comes Tampa. In the 24 years, the Blue Jays, the first 3 seasons, the Blue Jays won the season series. In the last 21 years, they've won the season series like twice. Over the last 14 years, 10-9 and 11-8 are the only records. Under Charlie Montoyo, the Blue Jays average a 6-13 record against Tampa. If the Jays versus the Rays doesn't massively improve, then the Blue Jays are not even sniffing at the American League East. And I love what Kami's talking about. Hey, they're coming home. That's going to be a big deal. I'm right there with them. If the Jays don't improve their play against the Tampa Rays, there's so much of what we're saying, guys, that is absolutely moot.
It's wild how they continually field an incredible team. And it doesn't matter the money that they're spending. It doesn't matter who they bring in to fill the holes that whoever left the year before. It doesn't matter who they've got in that starting rotation. I've stopped predicting the Rays will see a decline in their wins. Like I
guess
they made an actual offer to Freeman. The Rays are actually looking to spend money. This is a terrible development. This is a terrible,
isn't it?
I gotta say, just as to be the contrary in there, I don't feel like the Rays were genuinely in on Freeman, other than to drive the price up. Official offer. I still don't think that Freddie Freeman was ever going to consider the Rays. I don't think they did anything but drive the price up and hopefully keep him out of the AL East. But I'm kind of with Scott's camp of like, I mean, we just talked about the Yankees putting their holes in their fingers in the dam. I do feel like the Rays are just that guy at the circus that's just spinning the plate on the pole. Like, how long can they actually keep just making this like magic happen before it all comes crashing down? Like they're doing it with AAA guys, and they're just, every time one of them pans out into like a Cy Young winner out of nowhere, they friggin' ship them off, and they're like, that's fine, we got 3 others. Like, I don't understand how you can just constantly do that. I feel like the law of averages just says they have to come back down to earth at some point, right?
Well, McClanahan,
I don't know.
I was just gonna say McClanahan and Shane Boz are going to be absolutely insane.
I know.
Luis Patino.
Oh, and then Patino as well. Like it's just
yeah.
it's ridiculous what they
Yeah.
the arms that they conjure up out of you know the ocean. I don't know, because it's insane, and those guys are going to be lights out, and they turn themselves into a top rotation with, like, Boz was getting postseason starts with 15 innings, 20 innings to his career last year. Like, that's they know these arms. They're so comfortable with these arms. They know what they can do, and they throw them right into the fire, and they succeed. Like these, Tampa.
That Wander Franco contract is genius, by the way. And you just wait. In 4 years, they will trade him for like the biggest haul in trade history, because that is the way that the contract is set up, right? Is that all of a sudden it takes a big jump when he would normally be arbitration eligible, and they're going to move him with 4 to 5 years left on that contract, and they are going to get a haul of prospects like we haven't thought was possible to get in trade.
That's such a great point, Scott, because like we just spent probably 20 minutes at the start of this show talking about the price tag attached to Jose Ramirez and the value that he has with 2 years left of team control. So the idea of, like, I can't even wrap my mind around what the Rays are going to get back for Wander Franco with like 5 years left of team control. It's absurd. Like, as long as he stays healthy, they're gonna just what an absolute jackpot that is gonna be. And
which is what was kind of funny, because everyone was so shocked about that contract, but as soon as you see how it was like money broken down, I was like, this is the most Rays contract I've ever seen in my life. Like,
and Scott, what happens after they do that? They make that sale for that cachet of picks coming in. They call up the next Wander Franco that they've got in the
I know.
What the heck?
Oh, it's just wild that it works. It's just wild that it works. All right, let's move to Discord here for a question here.
Before we do move to Discord, I also want to talk about how incredible the Rays front office is, because it's such a work of art by committee, because the Rays front office gets picked constantly. It's just like their players. Like, every organization's taking the best guys out of their organization top to bottom. It's not just the players, and yet it doesn't matter. The system they have in place, they've got the next guy up, next man up. It's
now, Scott, now, to be fair, not everybody takes their best guys. We took Charlie Montoyo. Anyway, let's move on.
When was the last time they had a bad contract? Right? Like, does the team even have a bad contract? You can go literally down every single team and go, this guy's getting paid too much. This guy's getting paid. They don't have a bad contract on that. Then 40-man roster, there isn't a bad contract.
Well, I mean, that's easy to do, though, when you're only paying guys arbitration contracts. So, all right, let's...
To Discord. Sorry, Adam.
I was going to say, should we talk about Charlie Montoyo? But you know what? Let's save that for next week. Let's talk Montoyo and his future with the Blue Jays on next week's episode. We still got lots to get to here. Throwing back to Discord. So this one's for Craig. Football topic. So what did you think of the whole Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield fiasco in Cleveland? And how much are you enjoying Adam's suffering? His Steelers are the only team in the AFC North without a quarterback. I mean, we got Mitch Trubisky.
Yes, so. I firmly agree with that statement. Hey, I'm not laughing at adding Mitch Trubisky. I'm not laughing at that at all. Mitch Trubisky, when he had a serviceable offense and a killer defense, went to multiple playoffs. I'm not laughing at that Mitch Trubisky signing at all. That's the placeholder for your next guy. So maybe I'm in the minority there, but this Deshaun Watson thing is eye-popping. How could the story have gotten any crazier? And it did. This $230 million all guaranteed.
All guaranteed is wild. Yeah.
That was always the NFL contracts. Make him $20 billion. Who is it? Mahomes. He's got a $500 million. It'll never work out to that. Like, it was always just in money, in terms only, right? Mm-hmm. Like on paper. Now it's actually all guaranteed. They set it up so his salary this year is $1 million. So even if the NFL says, "Hey, Deshaun, who? Oh no, he's not welcome in our game this year." They couldn't care less. Cleveland couldn't care less. It has no impact to them. This is all incredible. I firmly applaud them moving on from Baker Mayfield. I don't like Baker Mayfield at all, so I've got no problem with them moving on from him. Deshaun Watson, when he's healthy and on the field, he's a top 3 quarterback on planet Earth. This guy is something special. Yeah. I wondered, with the criminal stuff going away, if the public outcry for just the civil stuff, you have to say just because it's still serious, we know this, but I'm talking about comparison to criminal stuff. I wondered what the public outcry would be. Guys, it seems like the public outcry is every bit as strong as if there were criminal charges. Like, I wonder if Cleveland saw this level of backlash, and whoever their PR team is has been a nightmare. These statements and that they're putting out, they have been awful. They've landed a top-tier quarterback, and the Cleveland Browns have still managed to be the Cleveland Browns.
Browns are gonna brown. That's absolutely true. I guess the wildest part of this whole process, because the Browns kind of made it clear that they were in on Deshaun Watson when he first, I guess, officially became available as his criminal proceedings progressed, and then he made it clear he didn't want to go to Cleveland. Right? He had the no trade clause.
Yes.
So Cleveland's like, okay, well, we just kind of pissed all over Baker Mayfield, and then he demanded a trade, right? And he's like, well, if you guys, and that's, I mean, say what you want about Baker Mayfield. I had to kind of tip my hat to him there of saying, well, if you guys were going to go and try and find a replacement for me, like, fuck you, I'm moving on too then. So I had some respect for Baker Mayfield there demanding the trade, but it all worked out for Cleveland in the end. But yeah, they've got quite the maze they're going to have to navigate here in terms of PR, to say the least, and that's putting it very nicely. I know that's a very delicate issue and a very serious topic there with Deshaun Watson, but thanks for the question nonetheless. All right, let's another one from Discord here. This is a very stupid debate. Doors versus wheels. Craig, Joel, you're both on TikTok. You must be familiar with this viral argument that's going around. Is there more doors in the world, or is there more wheels in the world?
Lego alone has made over 9 billion wheels. It's wheels.
Joel?
I don't know.
Yeah. There's only 5 members of the Doors, so...
Oh, Scott, how long have you been writing that one? That's great.
I've been sitting on that one.
Can't use it in the album recording now, though. You just burned.
No, that's right. Now it's out the door.
Joel?
I would think that it's wheels, because beyond cars, but like toy cars, right? Like every toy car that doesn't have a door that opens has 4 working wheels on it. Every train, every 18-wheeler has 18 wheels. So that's just, and it's got 2 doors. So that's like, every one of those that you see, that's 9-1 right there in favor of wheels.
So you're saying 9 is higher than 1?
This is some great analysis. I don't know why I asked this question. But thanks for playing along, guys. All right, doors unfortunately make way to wheels in this particular debate. I'm just honestly shocked that anybody would even say doors, that there's more doors in the world. It seems so obvious that there's more wheels in the world.
Like I'm sitting on a chair.
I know, I'm sitting on a chair with 10 wheels right now.
Yeah, it has 10 wheels on it.
So
yeah.
Nobody says there's no need to reinvent the door.
Holy Scott, save it for your album, buddy. All right, let's move on and get back to baseball here. Another question from Discord, though, and this will be for everybody, but let's start with Scott. Who is your favorite swing, past or present?
Ooh.
You know what? We had 2 people dip out, so we got a little bit extra time here. Let's each do current and past.
Okay, so honestly, I love Joey Bats. That nice fluid leg kick, and that is one thing that everyone on that Jays team at the time kind of fell in love with. They were like, oh my God, this leg kick, what a beautiful thing. And when Jose was just swinging it just right, beautiful swing. Are we going to count that as current, or does that...
Playing the Olympics, right?
Yeah, I think he's still playing pro ball, even if it's not at the major league level. You know what? That's a wild card, Scott. You can use it either way you want, okay?
Okay.
I'll give you that
because
flexibility.
I mean, this is such a hard question to answer because there's so many beautiful swings out there. But I mean, as an old Blue Jays fan, there was nobody with a smoother, sweeter swing than John Olerud. Johnny O just managed to just he could hit for power, he could hit for contact. He always put the ball in play. I don't know. Again, I know I'm just picking Blue Jays here, but
All right, no, that's good. Craig, let's go to you.
First of all, I'm going to predict real quick that it's Griffey Jr. for Commie. I'm just starting to know Joel. I'm going to say Griffey
damn
Jr.
it! Now I wish I picked Griffey.
For me, I'm going to go Blue Jays as well. George Bell, I always imitated his swing. I loved his load, and he made it work. I love George Bell so much. But guys, poetry and flipping motion is Slim Daddy Vladdy's bat through that strike. The violence, and at the same time, the control that bat comes through that strike zone. I mean, these baseballs have families, Vlad. Like, let's ease up a bit. Holy moly. Right on for me, it is Slim Daddy Vladdy.
Joel, let's go to you. Or, Craig, did we get both from you? We only got the current one.
George
Joel.
Bell is my
George
pass.
Bell.
Okay, George Bell. Sorry. Joel.
It is Griffey, so I'll definitely go with Griffey. For current, I would have probably said Vladdy, but I'll go with Juan Soto, just to give a different name. I think his bat to ball skills are incredible. His vision and that left-handed swing it's lovely. It's compact. It's powerful to all fields. It's when he hit home runs in the World Series against Cole one way 420 and then Verlander 420 the opposite. Oh man, that guy's got a swing. Yeah. So I'll go with Soto.
Real quick, I mean, just hey, shout out to Bo Bichette, right? I think we all appreciate Bo's two-strike approach. He's baseball, right? That has a two-strike approach. So I'd like to give us honorable mention there.
All right. Well, no honorable mention needed because that is my current
Okay.
favorite swing. So let me just get that out there. The way I interpret a question like this, and this might not be the way they intended it, but if I'm playing like a video game baseball and I'm putting myself in the game, I'm shortstop for the Blue Jays, what swing am I giving my hitter? And for me, I'm giving myself Bo Bichette. That wild tornado swing, super cool. I don't think I hurts my back every time I see him doing it, but Bo Bichette and that violent swing, I love it. And
I just love a leg kick that works. You know, like a nice. It's such a piece of the mechanics that is so difficult to get down. I just love it when they can make it work.
I don't know if this counts as weird leg kick, but this is an old timey Blue Jays reference. Not Jose Batista. This is Tony Batista with that weird open stance that he had.
Yeah,
that was
that's right, Joel. Just
it was
like
always
looking right at the picture and wiggling the bat in his face,
and then the turn and the lean.
Yeah.
If there's any youngsters watching this right now, just hop on YouTube and look up a Tony Batista at bat. And
no joke, dude hit multiple 40 homer seasons with that.
Yeah,
swing.
no, he was a beast.
He had Tony Batista at one time was the Blue Jays shortstop leader in home runs and third base leader in home runs. And do you guys remember how they lost him? Does anyone remember that? The Gordash era? No. Gordash tried to think Baltimore was in town. They were playing Baltimore at the then Sky Dome. He tried to sneak Batista through waivers that night. Baltimore claimed him. So on Saturday afternoon, he was a Toronto Blue Jay. Sunday afternoon, he went over to the other dugout and was now a Baltimore Oriole. And
right. I forgot about that. Yes.
Well, I was a great little piece of history there, and that was a nice, fun little flashback. So thanks for that comment there in Discord.
Now, Adam, are we able to get you to admit that, because you said you're making your player in MLB The Show, are you going to admit he's 6'7", he's 400 pounds of solid muscle? Like, you can admit what kind of player Adam Mack is in the video?
Well, yeah, I use a template, right? Like I create my player based off of Santiago Espinal, right? So that's all I got to do.
To Espinal, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so let's get back on track here. We talked free agency. Let's talk Fernando Tatis quickly. Had the shoulder injury last year after signing the big deal with San Diego. He said, "Don't worry about it. I've had this bad shoulder my whole career," and I don't think that put anybody's mind at ease. And now, I guess this isn't a baseball-related injury, but in the offseason, it sounds like he had a motorcycle accident and messed up his hand pretty good. Could be out up to 3 months. How?
Well, what drew my ire a little bit, if I was a Padres fan, is when they asked him, was this from a motorcycle injury? He went, which one? And I was like, ooh.
3, right?
Probably too soon to be joking about that, Fernando.
Yeah. So how concerned should this? I guess how concerned should the fan base be? How concerned should front office be? Obviously, they've got a lot of money committed to him. I would have to imagine that they have something in the contract that would give them an out if he wrecks his career from a motorcycle injury.
I don't know, but I mean, sorry, Craig. I just feel like there's no way that they haven't had a closed door meeting with him after that. There's no way that they didn't take him aside and be like, listen, man, like, we can't tell you what to do on the off season, but also, like, we're paying you $320
a lot of these contracts
million.
do say that. A lot of these big, I don't know if it's the same in baseball, but I know in like football and hockey and basketball, a lot of these contracts do. Like, if you are working out at anything other than a team sanctioned facility, you sprain your ankle at your basement gym that you have in Florida on your own time, like, you are not covered by team insurance or whatever the case may be, right? Like, you risk voiding your entire contract in a lot of these cases. So I think it's kind of crazy and reckless on his part, to be honest. Like,
well, and they sit down and talk to him. Guys, I'm sitting down and talking to the agent. He's had 3 of these injuries, 3 of these accidents. After the first one, you didn't put a bug in his ear that's the end of that. I liken it, guys, and I don't want this to take a turn here, but Jose Fernandez had nothing but yes men around him. So Fernando Tatis, as a 23-year-old multimillionaire, not understanding the ways of the world, that makes sense to me. That sounds like par to the core of the course for me. What about the agent? The agent didn't know better on this. Not go back to those 3 injuries, 3 accidents. After the first one, the agent didn't nip this thing in the bud. So if I'm the Padres, I'm more concerned about who he's surrounding himself with.
Yeah, stop hanging out with Madison Baumgartner. Bad influence. Yeah.
Good point about.
Does anyone know? Did he get
youngsters
paid
alone,
after that dirt bike accident? Do any of you? He did. Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead, Joel.
For me, it's also on the field. He gets hurt swinging the bat. He gets hurt swinging and missing. He gets hurt doing the splits in a May game to try to turn a double play, and then he's down in a heap. He dives in the hole and his shoulder pops out of socket. Like, the guy is 23 years old, and if you look at from 2019 to now, you would assume that was 20 years of injuries every single time that he's down and being hobbled off the field. Somebody is helping him get off the field. At 23, this is happening. You don't magically your body doesn't just magically get better with injury. Injury doesn't make you better. It doesn't. It slows you down in every
Tommy
aspect.
John, you throw harder after Tommy John.
Sure. We've seen it with the top star players for generations. Mickey Mantle falling apart trying to play that style for a full career. Ken Griffey Jr. falling apart because he can't play that style for a full career. Your body gives and these guys were way more durable than Tatis.
Yeah.
Tatis is as glassy of a player as I've ever seen. And he doesn't know that his ability is hitting home runs. His ability is being athletic and being great, but he plays 110% when it doesn't, when the situation doesn't dictate it. And then he's out for long periods of time. And the fan base was like, I made a video about a year ago. I was like, Tatis can't do this. He can't play like this. It's going to all crumble apart on him. And all the fans were like, oh, no, don't worry. He's going to get surgery on that shoulder. He's going to come back better than ever. He didn't get surgery on that shoulder. That shoulder is still as suspect as ever been. It's not fixed. Now he's getting surgery on his wrist. And the wrist is so much of your swing comes through your wrist. That is not something that is a hell of an injury. So I don't know. I would be extreme. I'm terrified right now. And remember Machado flipping out on him in the dugout last year about like that was about getting into an argument with an umpire in a situation where you can't be thrown out of a game, right. But like to Craig's point, somebody has to sit this guy down and say, listen, you are worth $333 billion. This franchise is built around you like no other team is built really around a star. And, like that San Diego doesn't have the ability to go and oh, you know what? You're not great. It's okay. We're the New York Yankees and we got $300 million players on the roster. They've got two, but I don't know. You can't, if he's out, it just feels like if I'm a San Diego Padre fan and I find out that Tatis is out, I'm like, that's such a bummer on the season. That's such a bummer on the season.
The third time on episode.
Yeah.
No, not just that. But I mean, for the third time on episode 8 of the Long Toss, I'm bringing it back to what a time to be a Blue Jay fan. Look how other fan bases, 23-year-old superstars spent their offseason. Look how Slim Daddy Vladdy spent his 23 offseason.
Great point, Craig.
It looked like he lost some more weight. I think the tweet that I just saw, it looked like he's down from 269 down to 231. So
yeah,
I don't know if those numbers are accurate or not, but that comes from a bathroom selfie of him in his underwear. So
the tweet that he put out last year was a trailer, and this is the feature. This is the movie. This is the real thing. Like that he going into the off season with a overrated jersey, like hacked. Like he had remember he had that jersey that he was sporting like bust. It said bust on the back, right? Yeah. He's fired up. He is fired up, and losing. I think the fact that they won that last game of the year and they were sitting there waiting to go into the playoffs and things didn't turn out. Their mentality this year is like, we can't leave anything on the table. We have to go after every single thing.
This is a mentality that you don't see in every 23-year-old. I mean, we just talked about Fernando Tatis Jr., just an elite talent, a guy that the San Diego Padres are building all around. And he mentally is still 23, and yet you look at Vladdy, and my goodness, like that man truly, the motivation that he had after watching them lose in that final game of the season, like they all had their little their cry or their whatever it was, and it's like the next day they were like next year, like, and that this isn't just Vladdy, this is all of them. This is Bichette. Like this is Gurriel Jr. These are guys who put effort into portions of the offseason that a lot of ball players are taking off. Like this team's exciting.
I don't want to dig up old topics that we've already spent 20 minutes on, but when we talked about this Blue Jays team and whether or not they're going to win 100 games, I kind of just kept my mouth shut while you guys all gave your 2 cents on that. I think that's one of the biggest factors in this Blue Jays team going over 100 games this year. I think that if you just look at the dysfunctional bullpen we had, that's an extra 7 wins right there. Playing in Canada for 81 games has got to be worth a couple extra wins. Did we lose Marcus Semien? Did we lose Robbie Ray? Yes. Did we replace him with Chapman and Gossman? Time will tell, right? I think everybody takes a big step forward developmentally, and I think that this team, Scott, you touched on it right there where you mentioned the way this team got eliminated from the playoffs, right? Winning that last game of the year and then having to watch as it just wasn't enough. I think that just puts such a chip on the shoulder. I think that's the best thing, and we're going to look back years from now, and we're going to say that loss in 2020, right, on the last day, or not the loss, but like getting eliminated in those circumstances.
In that fashion, yes.
Was the best thing that happened to this team. And I just want to pull a quote from Robert DiBernardo, who we had on the podcast last week. This is the head of the mental health and mental performance department with the Blue Jays. So shout out to that whole department because they're doing something phenomenal with these kids. We talk about the difference between these kids and Fernando Tatis and just all these different youngsters across the league and the exceptional work ethic. I know the pedigree of their dads is also a role in that, and their families, and just it's all quite the thing. But here's the Here's the quote from Robert DiBernardo is, teams with shared adversity either break up or break records. And I think that last game of the year is some shared adversity that really is going to galvanize this team. We saw the trailer last year. This is the movie. I have goosebumps right now, and it's just, I think, honest, if this team won 110 wins, I wouldn't be surprised.
And what I'd like to just bring up here, and Adam, I think you really are nailing it, is I think when Adam says they're going to take a step forward, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't even think he means numbers.
I'm not saying that everyone's going to hit more home runs. I think Joel touched on it earlier too, where it's like run differential. We were a 98-win team, right? But a lot of those came in lopsided victories where we were winning by 14 runs. And then we lose the game 3-2, right? Like Robbie Ray would go out and pitch 6 innings of like 1-run baseball, and we'd still find a way to lose. I feel like a lot of those games, this team we just really volunteered to the loss department in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. I think this team realizing now that, like, yeah, every win matters, right? Every game where we just got bummed out by Chatwood and phoned it in for the next 3 innings, we can't do that even once this year. We can't do it even once this year.
Do you remember, Adam, that 4-game a great point. Remember that 4-game series at Boston? It was a weird one because it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You don't often see 4 games.
Yes.
Remember that? That Sunday was the 18-4 beatdown. They were doing salsa dancing in the dugout. The Jays were having the time to play. The next day, Alek Manoah on the hill. Alek Manoah holds Boston to 2 runs at Fenway. This should be celebrated. Congratulations on your win, Blue Jays. That was a 2-1 Blue Jay loss. That was a 2-1 loss because that team did not They did not get refocused the next day. They thought, hey, this is who we are. If we show up tomorrow, what time do we show up? Game's at 1:05. Okay. And then we make the plane after that win. Okay. It's going to be much different this year. I love how you brought it back to their pedigree, because there's no doubt they saw their dads on teams that were very good and that didn't make the playoffs, and they would have seen how that ate away at their dads. The whole idea that playoffs are not a given, the whole Dan Marino thing as a Dolphins fan, hey, he went to the Super Bowl in year 2, thought, man, okay, didn't win it, but I'll be back several times. 20 years later, he never went back. Those sort of things won't be lost on these Blue Jays because of that pedigree, because they would have seen their dads go through things like this.
When you see a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. putting in the effort that he put in over this offseason and the last offseason, and you're, let's say, a role guy like Santiago Espinal, how do you not match that? You have to. And that's what this team is about. Right? This team is about looking at a guy like George Springer, who is all out all the time when he's in the game. And if you're a guy like Lourdes Gurriel Jr., you match that effort now, right? Like, if you don't, you're just going to be a detriment to the team, and everyone's going to know it. And this is where we talked about clubhouse and culture. I mean, I think the Jays have it in spades.
In spades, yeah.
That's their defensive third baseman in baseball, showing up at 5-something a.m. Every other player on the team. Pardon? Okay, I need to rethink. Then don't I? Oh boy, I need to rethink my routine.
And,
well, I love that story Craig just brought up there, because like Chapman showed up at 5 a.m. the first day in spring training, and Bichette and Espinal showed up at 6:15, and they're like, "When's Chapman get here?" And they're like, "He's been here for an hour." Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, Hazel asked them, "Are you looking forward to meeting your new teammate?" And Santiago Espinal turned around and pointed to the dugout, to the locker room, and said, "He's been here. Meet him. He's been here."
Hey,
love it.
You know what? And keep in mind too, he was coming over from the West Coast, so 5 a.m. was probably more like 3 a.m. for him, if you're taking jet lag into account. No, it's a really good time. Look, we're already at the 2-hour mark. We got to wrap things up quickly here.
Okay.
World Baseball Classic returns spring of 2023. I think every baseball fan is excited for that. I don't think we're going to see Vladdy in a Team Canada jersey, as much as we all would love to tell ourselves that he will. I think there's a pretty slim chance that happens. You know what? I think better chance we see Freddie Freeman in a Team Canada jersey than we see Vlad Guerrero Jr. in a Team Canada jersey. So let's, I guess that's all we really need to address there, unless anybody has something specific they want to touch on World Baseball Classic wise. Nope. Okay. Last topic we'll get to then is Yankees cheating scandal just won't go away. So, article out of The Athletic. Joel, you dug it up just before we went live today. Do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, so I guess what's happening is that a letter between Cashman and Rob Manfred, which was sealed, I believe, in 2019 when they started investigating sign stealing, but it had been sealed, and I believe a lawsuit from DraftKings forced this into being kind of unsealed. It's going to be given to the public in about 2 weeks. There's rumors in it that there's information in it about not only the phone, the illegal phone that they used in the bullpen, the Apple Watch scenario, but something I heard some speculation that there was potentially cameras being set up in the outfield. Multiple cameras were being set up in the outfield filming home plate. This was going back to 2017, so that's been brought up. We'll find out exactly what it is in 2 weeks because it has been unsealed. And
2017, by the way, Aaron Judge's huge year.
Yes, and that's a point that I made, was that Aaron Judge complained about Altuve stealing the MVP from him in a season where he may have been doing the exact same thing. And when you look at his OPS, like I brought this up, it's like Judge has always been productive. He's always been a productive guy. But that rookie season, he was a 1050 OPS player. He has never been over 920 in any other season. He has been injury plagued, but last year, through a pretty healthy season, 919 in his prime at 28, 29, where his rookie season, he was a 1050 OPS guy, hitting considerably more home runs that year. And so it's really, really interesting. I'm not saying that Aaron Judge cheated that year, but the fact that there's stuff coming out about those 2017 Yankees, the fact that the Red Sox were doing it as well, everybody knows about the Houston Astros. It's just really, it'll be rather hypocritical if he gave Altuve all of that crap that he gave him and was doing it at the exact same time, something similar. So it's going to be interesting. Just more fire to be thrown on the Yankees. They had like a 2-year window where they weren't the most hated team in baseball, but it seems like they're right back there. So.
Completely fabricated that whack-ass man in white. Wasn't that the Yankees?
Yeah.
The rumor that there was somebody up in white signaling.
Yeah,
or there
the
was
men in white. Yeah.
And there's somebody in the hotel room as well signaling. It's just like,
baseball.
I don't know, man.
So you say 2 weeks and that document's getting unsealed?
2 weeks and that document is unsealed and the public will be able to look into it and see what was going on. And what is more incriminating might be what Manfred knew. And if Manfred knew that the Yankees were cheating and that he had all of this sealed and he didn't punish them because, the Astros were punished in draft picks.
This could be terrible for Manfred's image.
It really, really could be. So that is Yankees and Manfred banging it like, hey, it's a great time to be a Jays fan.
Never suspended the Houston players. His whole point, that's a great call. His whole point, Joel, but why he never suspended the Houston players, why he gave him immunity, we said, guys, I needed the full truth. I had to give immunity to get the full truth. Joel, if it comes out that truth ball was already rolling,
exactly. It is really bad for Manfred. It is really bad.
Great point, Craig. Great point there. Huh. Poking some holes in a bunch of stories. This is bad for everybody. So, all right. Well, interested to see how that all shakes down, I guess, over the course of the next 2-3 weeks and beyond. So, good stuff. That's about all we've got here from Discord and from all of our topics. Look like we got everything. So let's just, I guess, throw it around the horn and slowly start to say our goodbyes. So first off, thanks to everybody in the YouTube live chat. We were touching in the 60s today for quite a while.
Yes, thank you, everybody. That's great.
Baseball's back.
Very excited for baseball to be back. Let's start with Scott. You're the last one I introduced, so let's be the first one we say goodbye to.
Okay, so a couple things. Number one, I do wish to tease that Samad Taylor sat down with us about 10 days ago. Great interview. This is a guy who, not a high-end prospect, but just continually progresses to the point where the Blue Jays brass can't ignore him much longer. He should get probably start in AAA this year, but he sat down with us. Great interview. We're releasing that on Thursday. Also, can we tease, Adam, the news that we got, or should we? No. Okay, we'll wait. We'll hold on.
I don't know. It's
Okay,
big news.
we'll-
I feel like it's big
huge news, but until we lock this guy down, will. But there's a big interview, a guy with the Jays that hopefully we lock down. So fingers crossed.
This will be the biggest interview we've had to date. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
Oh, no offense taken, right, Joel? No offense taken.
We'll let you boys know. We'll let you boys know once we hit stop on this. So you two will be in the know. So April 8th is going to be the opening day. We're starting our live streams back up, so Adam and I will be live streaming that game. And then my last plug is for myself. I am releasing my debut comedy album in the near future. We're filming that April 14th at Grindstone Theater in Edmonton, Alberta. If you are an Edmontonian, I would love to see you out. There's both a late and an early show, so please get your tickets. The album is going to be called Staying Together for the Cat, so hope to see everyone out supporting.
Cat Stevens. All right.
That's right.
Joel, you're an Edmontonian. I'm an Edmontonian. We're gonna have to coordinate and make sure we're at the same show.
Absolutely. I'm definitely going to be there. You can check me out always at Hey Kami on TikTok. I also got my movie, which is shooting in Los Angeles. It'll be done middle of April, so probably around when Scott's recording. And then, about 2 months after that, I'll have footage for you. I got to send, I believe you guys got to see some of the stills of it.
Yes.
So
cool.
that's
Nice.
one step. The rendering process takes forever. Literally every second of footage takes like a minute to render on the cameras that they're using. So it takes a while to get the footage, but you guys, I'll send you some too, Craig, because I got your cell phone now. And and then, about 2-3 months, I'll have footage for you guys, which will be great.
Very exciting, man. Well done.
Craig, nice seeing you as always.
I thought this was epic today. I thought Lewis and Baseball Jen were great. Joel was his usual great self. Scott, you're always funny, Scott. You were fired today. Adam, were they puns or metaphors or whatever?
Spinning the dishes and fingers and dams.
Brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And good to hear as well. I've already made a note that because I've been doing really well with getting my Blue Jay videos back on TikTok now. I've been doing really well, but I've made a note that it's good to know that in 2 weeks when the Yankee stuff comes out, Kami will retake over TikTok. So it's good to know in 2 weeks I'm getting
Yeah.
That part of it is not that great. But yeah, at Craig Ballard 77 on Instagram or Twitter, at Craig_Ballard_ Jays Talk on TikTok. And yeah, just my God, I absolutely love coming on, guys. Shout out to the crew as well watching today, Adam and Scott. Like just on a Monday when we had to switch days around to start.
Yeah.
Like, hey, tip of the cap to you guys in the YouTube chat as well, man. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it.
Love it. Craig, you're joining us for the Fantasy Baseball League this year, right?
I am looking forward to it.
Okay, very good. I will just plug that one more time because the deadline is this Friday, so we still have 30 stragglers left in the YouTube chat. If you're interested in fantasy baseball with the four of us plus Mark, then let us know in Discord. There should be a free invite link in the video description, so click on that. Come on over to Discord, shoot someone a message, and just let us know you're interested. And then we're going to do kind of a draw system for those final spots in the league. But it's going to be fun for us to go all year long. So thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks to everybody in the YouTube live chat. Thanks to everybody who's watching this after the fact. We have mailbag tomorrow, right, Scott? Tomorrow we're doing a mailbag Tuesday. And then more news on Friday. So Samad Taylor this Thursday. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
I better get that edited soon then. Okay. Thank you. I got homework tonight. All right. Well, on that note, we'll bid everybody adieu. And we'll catch you next week.